Herbert Green was the one who actually found Chuck, but he wasn't there to see Chuck. He was there to see somebody else, right? And what happened? Give me kind of the genesis for how you ended up starting to recruit Charles Sonny.
Well, Herbert had been going to that school, and he was recruiting a kid. What was his name, Charles?
Travis Abernathy.
Travis Abernathy, and then Charles went to see him. I mean, Herbert went to see Herbert Abernathy, and Charles just tore somebody up alive. And he changed on Abernathy and went to Charles. And he spent the rest of his time recruiting Charles. Everybody says, old Sonny recruited Charles. Old Sonny didn't recruit Charles. Herbert Green recruited Charles. And Jan, I think. What do you think about that? Can you hear me, Charles?
I can. Jeff, it's 100% true story. They started out recruiting Travis, he's a relative and a next door neighbor.
Okay.
And Travis was a hell of a player. And we didn't know who Herbert was, obviously. And so we saw him at a few games because the thing was, I grew from 5'10" to 6'5" in 1 year, so I had never gotten a letter until I was a senior. Travis had been getting letters as a freshman.
Really?
Yeah. So, and Travis is the first person in the history of my high school to go from the junior high straight to the varsity. Wow. That's how good a player he was. So, obviously, I didn't know who Herbert was, and finally the coach says, "Hey, I'm here to look at Travis Abernathy." And then a few more games, he says, my coach says, "Hey, Charles, I think Auburn wants to look at you now." And I said, "That'll be awesome, coach." And that's how the story goes.
You kicked the crap out of Bobby Lee Hurt, is that right?
That. So this is what happened. So I told you, this is going into Christmas. So like I say, I'm a 5'10" backup point guard my whole life, and I grow to 6'4", 6'4 and a half. But I'm only getting a couple letters from like junior colleges. So Bobby Lee is the best big man in the country. They're ranked number one 4A. We're ranked number one 3A. He's 6'11". So people thought like I could only play small school. So against Bobby Lee, I had 30 points and 20 rebounds. Yep. And that changed everything in my life, Jeff. I like to say I didn't get no big time schools, but from that point on, they're like, maybe he can play Division I.
Yeah, that's true. And what happened in that game that sold me, I was there for that game. The ball went up on the board, and Charles went up and got it with two hands and threw it to mid-court before he hit the floor. And I said, I'd never seen anybody else ever do that except Wes Unseld. And I knew right there that this was the real deal right there. He was going to be something. And he turned out to do that.
It came down. I mean, it kind of came down. Everybody thought you were going to go to UAB, Chuck, and then you ended up. It was Auburn, Alabama, and Sonny versus Wimp. Which, man, listen, that's a whole podcast unto itself. If we got Sonny and Wimp together, right?
Well, I got really lucky making a good decision going to Auburn. So, I was really close to my mother and grandmother. They came to every game I played, and they were going to steal. They came down to Auburn to every home game. So UAB is only like 25 minutes from my house. And Alabama's like an hour. Auburn's 2 hours. So I'm trying to decide. So I'm looking at UAB. UAB made it to the Sweet 16 that year.
Okay.
And they had everybody coming back. So then I look at Alabama. Alabama actually made it to the Sweet 16, and they signed Ennis Wiley, who was the number one point guard in the country from Birmingham.
Sure.
And Bobby Lee, who was the best big man in the country from Alabama also. So I'm like, wow. And obviously, I'm not Charles Barkley at this point. I don't have great confidence. So then I go down to Auburn, and I'm looking around. I don't even remember the game I went to. And it was a pretty good game, if I remember correctly. And I said, I think I can play with these guys. And I remember when I got back home, I told my mother and grandmother, I said, hey, guys, I know it's the farthest school away, but I said the most important thing is I want an opportunity to play. And I said, I'm going to go to Auburn. And my grandmother said, Charles, it's your decision. We don't mind driving 2 hours. Because my grandmother, Sonny knows, my grandmother's probably the most important person in my life. And she says, we don't mind driving 2 hours. And I was sold after that.
Sonny, did you try to tell him that Auburn was actually closer to his house in Alabama? Is that true?
Well, but the road, there was a road you could take. It wasn't real wide, but you could go up over the mountain and you could take an hour off it, about 45 minutes, and you'd come out in Sylacauga. And I had convinced his grandmother that it was closer to Auburn over the mountain than it was to Tuscaloosa going by the highway. And she believed it, and I believed it. I wasn't lying to her. You could have done that. I don't remember the name of that road, and it might have been rock. I'm not sure. Gravel, maybe.
Hey, how good a salesman was he, Charles?
Well, to me, number one, he really, because I really like Gene Bartow as a person. Wimp was probably the least one. I didn't learn about Wimp until later, what a good guy he was. But Gene Bartow, I really liked him. But I would say it was really a homer thing. Like, yo, man, I want my mother and grandmother not to drive far.
20 minutes.
But once I went down to Auburn, man, I was sold. I was really sold.
Why?
Charles, tell him what you did on your first 30 minutes or more, 40 minutes or more on your visit to Auburn.
I don't remember. What happened?
You spent it with Jan. You wouldn't go out.
Yeah. So, Sonny has the greatest wife ever. You know, you talk about, like, first of all, I don't think kids understand. I tell kids two things. Man, when you go to college, the number one thing is playing time. Yeah. The second thing is you're so homesick. Because I remember the first time I went to college, Jeff, I told my family, you know, I'm talking like a big old dude. Hey, I'll see you guys in a couple months when I get settled and everything. Man, that first weekend when Sonny let me go, I was home in like an hour and 22 minutes. I was driving 100 miles an hour the whole way. You get homesick because you're around random strangers, and it takes a while. But Miss Smith, man, she treated us all like sons. You know, and listen, I don't give a shit about the NCAA. You know, Sonny had us over to dinner every now and then, and she was like the sweetest lady. And it was so awesome to have like a mother figure like close to you.
Jeff, one thing, Jeff, before you get off of that, Jan had a stroke, severe stroke, devastating stroke at 47. At 47, the first person to the hospital when they put her in a bed was Charles. Charles was the first one there, and Chuck Person was the second player there, and that's always jumped out at us about how much they thought about Jan.
Well, listen, I know, and while we're on that topic, Sonny, we'll go there. I was going to go there a little bit later, but about Chuck the person, I think people know by now a little bit about how giving he is, about what a human being and the character and all that. The people that see you on TV, Chuck, they don't know that, right? They think one thing of you, but I've seen it. I've seen it with me. I've seen it with other people when he's walking through hotels and he's dripping at the Final Four. I mean, literally dripping. And he stops and he signs autographs. He sits there and talks. I mean, I don't know how you get anywhere, Chuck. Like, you must be.
Well, listen, hey, Jeff, I got to give Dr. J all the credit for that. Really? You know, Dr. J helped me a lot as a man. And Moses is the most important figure in my basketball career. But Dr. J, you know, that's the one thing I hate about the NBA today. Like, when you go to the NBA today, the oldest guy on the team is like 22. Yeah. You know, he's been in the league like 3 or 4 years, and he's only 22. Nobody knows anything at 22. But when I got to the NBA, Moses, Doc, those guys were like 36.
So they taught
and Doc taught me, yo, man, you're going to make a lot of money. Always sign autographs. Always take pictures. And so I'm watching Doc. I'm a nobody rookie at the time.
Yeah.
And Dr. J is Dr. J. Anytime we're going through the hotel, he's signing every autograph.
Really?
He's taking every picture. And I'm studying him. And then finally, we get to know each other. I said, Doc, why do you do all that stuff? He said, Chuck, that's part of the game. That's part of it. They're not paying you all that money to just play basketball. You're going to get interrupted at dinner. But sign autographs and take pictures. But the one thing he taught me, Jeff, and this is the most important thing, even when you say no, you got to make it in a way that you make the person don't feel little.
Yep.
Like sometimes I'll say, listen, man, I really apologize. It's too many people here. I'm trying to watch this game, or I'm trying to have drinks with my friends. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just can't start signing autographs, because if I sign one, everybody's going to keep coming. And that's probably the biggest lesson he taught me. Even when you say no, just make the person feel like you don't want to belittle them. And that actually has been a great thing for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's what they appreciate it, right? I mean, ultimately they appreciate you being real with them. And I think that's the one thing. Listen, the first time, you don't remember this, first time you and I met, probably like 8 years ago, something like that, whenever the Final Four was in Indy, so it had to be like 7-8 years ago. And I was at ESPN. A colleague of mine called me and said, hey, come over. They got this party in the back of this restaurant. A lot of ESPN producers here. I was in maybe my second year, just finished my first year at ESPN. And Tony Romo's here, Barkley's here. Just come on over, we'll drink, whatever. I walk in that restaurant, I walk in the back, and all of a sudden you're walking towards me. And I grew up as a Sixers fan in Boston. I told Chuck this. My favorite player growing up was Andrew Toney. I can't even say that shit around here, I'll get lynched. So I walk to the back, and Chuck comes up to me, and he's like, hey, man, I really like what you do. Charles Barkley introduces himself. I'm like, is somebody fucking punking me here? Like, what the fuck's going on? And but it meant a lot to me. It did. It meant a lot to me that you would do that. And since I feel like, again, you're that way with everyone. You're that way with everybody.
Well, Jeff, in the words of Dr. J, we're all in this thing together, literally in the middle of a pandemic. But in sports, like, it's gotten adversarial in the last 30-some years, because guys are looking to tweet stuff, trying to get clickbait. But when I started, I talked to the press every day, after every game, after every practice. Now I hear guys like, hey, I don't talk on off days, or I'm only going to talk to you after games. I'm like, yo, man, this is not adversarial. Right. Now, if a guy writes something, you can, number one, call him on it, or you have the right not to speak to him. But I look at all the media guys. We're in this thing together. I want basketball to do good. Right. Like, I never wake up saying, let me say something bad about a player. So guys like yourself, when I meet you, like, yo, man, we're in the same business. And I wish the young guys today would understand that. Like, you guys are trying to do y'all job, and our job is to make each other's job easier.
And we're all for the sport. We're all for the same damn thing, right? We all want the sport, whether it's NBA, whether it's college, whether it's AAU. We all want it. We're all in it for the same reasons. None of us got in it to make money. We got in it because we love it. Whatever angle we're doing, coaching, media, playing, whatever it is, I think that's what gets lost. And these kids today, I get it. They have a brand. They can put it out there themselves with Twitter. They don't need us, or they feel like they don't need us. And I understand it, Chuck, because anybody can be a so-called media person now. Anybody can start a blog. Anybody can put on Twitter. So I understand it, and it pisses me off, because I think the industry has gone to shit because of that. I do.
Yes.
There are a lot of people out there that are just in it for clicks. that are just in it and they don't have the training to actually, go through what I went through. I mean, I interviewed James Worthy when I was 13 years old. I knew I wanted to do this. I knew I wasn't going to be good enough. So I learned the right way how to do it. And I'm not going to kill any kid in high school. Hell no. I'm probably not going to kill any kid in college for the most part. Once they get to the NBA, that's a different deal for me.
I agree.
They're making money then. They're making money. It's a job then. But in college, I'm going to protect the kid as much as I humanly can. Like right now, they're killing Zion, right? They're killing Zion. This story out there that, his family's being sued by, and people are saying, well, did Duke know all this? Listen, I'm not coming to any conclusions on this until I know more information. Why would I?
Well, it's interesting. I've been obviously paying attention to the Zion thing. Man, why would a company, go to an 18-year-old kid and try to get him to sign? I mean, obviously we knew Zion was going to be a star, but man, there's so many people trying to get in your pocket. Like this company, they should be held like, why are y'all trying to sign an 18-year-old kid? That drive. I mean, I know he's gonna make a lot of money in the future, but you should not be able to sign an 18-year-old should not be able to sign a contract with some company. Period.
But it's I was going back. How different was it all when you were coming up? And again, like you said, you blew up kind of late, right? So it wasn't like you were at 15 years old. Everybody knew who Charles Barkley was, like they did with Zion. But how different was the whole landscape? Sonny, you can talk to this too, probably even more appropriately. How different was the landscape of recruiting then with some of the restrictions that are on now? And was it dirtier then?
I think it has always been recruiting with a scholarship has never been the right statement to make. Somewhere along the line, every kid at every school has received something. And I think the best thing to do is, if say you were involved in recruiting years ago, base it on need, not what they want. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I think the people that go over into the Roth area are the people that hurt recruiting and made it a bad thing. But for instance, we had a guy that was in the clothing business. If a kid came to Auburn years ago and didn't have any clothes, this guy somehow made sure they got clothes, and not an overly amount, but that kind of thing. I would turn my head all the way around for that kind of thing, and Charles knows that also. But the cars and all that kind of thing, that ballooned it into a different animal. Really, it really did.
Well, it's interesting. Jeff, I'm paying attention to the Bowen thing. Yeah. And his mom and dad, like they're suing them, saying they requested and demanded all this money from Adidas. See, that's to me when it gets out of hand. When the people around you are trying to profit. Listen, God rest my mother and grandmother's souls, but ain't nowhere in the hell they would ever said, hey, my son ain't coming to your school unless you give him X amount of money. And when I'm reading about the Bowen kid, his dad is saying, no, you got to give us X amount of money or he ain't coming to your school. That's what bothers me about the whole thing. Because I've said this, I think that they should be able to borrow money from an agent. That would help a level playing field.
No.
Yeah, like say if I want to, because kids are leaving school because they don't have any money. Well, let's say you went to a small school and you want to stay. Say, hey, let me borrow money from an agent. I'm going to pay him back.
Right. I know I'm going to get it in 2 years. I know I'm going to have it. Right.
Yes. But like the way and first of all, the NCAA, they full of crap too. Listen, some of this stuff they've been doing, going back, suspending guys for getting 2-minute sneakers. Right.
Ridiculous.
Suspending guys for having lunch with somebody.
Playing in pro-ams, playing in a summer game. Come on.
Yeah. Mark Emmert has got to grow up and realize, like, wait, I'm just spending a guy like the kid who's probably going to be a top 3 or 4 pick, Wiseman.
Yep.
Like Penny lent him $5,000 like 7 years ago. I'm like, wait, this guy's going to be a top 10 pick. He's going to be great for college basketball, and y'all going to suspend him. And then the kid's like, screw it. And
right.
you see what's happening now. These kids, and I hate the fact that they're going to the G League.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it'd be great for these kids to go to college. Because you think about this. Look how much money Zion made for 6 months in college. You know, and this kid, and people, see, this is why I always laugh. People don't have a clue about money. It's like, well, this kid got $500,000. I said, he did? I said, well, first of all, he didn't get $500,000.
After taxes.
I said, first of all, after he paid taxes, number one, it's going to be under $300,000, closer to $200,000. Then he got to pay his agent. And then I knew the NBA had a trick. I said, wait a minute. The NBA, they got a trick going on somewhere trying to get these kids to come to the G League. Number one. Number two, and number three, you notice they didn't release them other 2 guys' salary. They made a big deal when they was giving the one kid $5.
Yeah, it's like $250. So he's going to make, Isaiah Todd will make like $150 clear.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, you think about this, though.
Yep.
So the NBA, I was thinking, like, listen, I know the NBA, they're good businessmen. They're not going to have these kids playing in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm like, there's a trick coming somewhere. And then they're gonna start a different select team in LA and have guys who are high profile play in LA. I'm like, that explains it. But that makes it even worse because number one, they're gonna have all these other quote guys who ain't never gonna touch the NBA playing these small teams. Yep. They're gonna have the best of the best playing in LA. But how far you think that 100,000, 200,000 gonna go in LA? Because we're talking 17, 18-year-old kids. They're going to have to bring mom and dad or somebody else.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait, that 500,000 is gone already. I would love to see if it's my kid. I'm like, wait, that $500,000 is gone, and I'm living in LA, and I uprooted everybody in my life. I said, no. Let me go to Auburn, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Michigan State. They're going to get 3 squares a day. I know what they at every night. I mean, that to me.
And they got friends forever. I mean, Chuck, you got friends from Auburn, I guarantee today that, again, if you went to this G League developmental program, really, I mean, yeah, Jalen Green might have Isaiah Todd, might have Daishen Nix, a kid who's going to go to UCLA. I just don't get Adam Silver's why. The big thing to me is why, Charles.
Because the agents are scumbags. They're trying to get these kids to the second contract. What people don't understand, you don't make a ton. Well, you make great money on your first contract, but the sooner you get to that second contract, that's when you make $150 million or more, and that's when you're set for life. The agents don't care about the good of the NBA or the good of college. They just want their money.
Is this?
I tell you, Jeff.
Go ahead, Sonny. Yep.
All I gave Charles was books, board, tuition, and fees, and laundry money. But the laundry brought in $800 a month.
How much? $800 a month for laundry?
Hey,
damn.
Hey, Jeff. I tell Sonny this the same thing I tell Bruce Pearl. I says, at Auburn, we don't get McDonald's All-Americans. We get guys who eat at McDonald's.
So, all right, give me. Like I said, I got a few things for you. I got a couple things. Did my research. My reporter kind of asked around a little bit. So, rumor has it that Charles had somebody from the staff walking him to class every single day. True?
Hey.
False?
True. Mac McCarthy was the first assistant I had that was in charge of it. He would make sure that Charles got to the door. Charles would go in one door and out the other one. Mac never did catch it.
Hey,
is that true or not?
100. Hey, Jeff, that's true. I still talk to Mac all the time, and we joke about it all the time. And I said, hey, man, y'all already told me I got to lead the SEC in rebounding. I'm leading the SEC in rebounding. That's good enough for me.
That's going to get you a C. That's going to get a C in every class.
That's going to hey, Jeff, that'll get me a C in every class.
Fine, right? That's good.
Eligibility. We had that thing called eligibility.
How did you keep Charles eligible? Besides that, how hard was he to deal with? Immature Charles. I can only imagine what he was like as a freshman at Auburn.
Well, the only thing I can say about that is that he didn't understand me, and I didn't understand him. So it was two guys that didn't understand, trying to get along with one another. Is that anywhere near close to Charles?
You know, Jeff, Sonny is one of the most important people in my life. You know, I love him like a father. He's been great to me. I was not mature enough for him getting on me. It took, I didn't learn till I learned from Moses Malone about getting in shape and things like that. But Sonny, to his credit, he was hard on me. I was too immature, you know, because you know, you're like, I'm saying to myself, yo, man, I'm a freshman leading the SEC in rebounding.
Yeah.
I must be doing something right. And Sonny's like, no, you can do a lot better. But, like, I'm like, what's better than leading the SEC in rebounding as a freshman?
So you used to go up and tell him you were going to transfer? You go up to his office?
No. So at the end of my sophomore year, I had enough. I had enough. And I said, yo, man, I've been here for 2 years. I've been here 2 years because I led the league in rebounding all 3 years I was in college. And I said, Coach, I just had enough. I'm going to transfer, blah, 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 blah. So then I calmed down. I go to his house, and we sit down, me, him, and Jan, and we have dinner, and we sit down and talk about basketball. And I say to him, and like I say, why don't you just tell me I'm doing good sometime? And
Yeah,
I was like,
he told me that.
I said, I know I'm doing good, but he wanted me to be a great player. And that goes back to my immaturity. I'm like, you know, I'm doing pretty good, but he wanted me to be better. And I wasn't mature enough to understand it. And that dinner lasted, I mean, we talked for like 3 or 4 hours. And from that day on, we've been great. He's like, I just want you to be the best player. And from that day on, Jeff, it's been amazing.
Let me add something here to that, Jeff. I, as a coach, I had never coached a superstar. I had never coached a player that was above the rest of the players that I had. I had always coached guys that you had to make better and hope that you could get by with them. I never had a player as good as Charles. And I look back on it, if I had known how to coach a superstar, and that's what he was. He was a superstar off the court and on the court. Most sellable person's ever been at Auburn in basketball, probably in every sport. But I didn't know how to do that because I'd never coached anything but high school kids that weren't great. And I didn't have but one good player that was with pro potentials on the team when Charles came. And we went through about 4 practices, and he was down to a high school player again. So Charles blocked every shot he took. Harold Lockhart, you remember that? And I say, Charles, he's the second best player on this team. Don't block his shot. I've got to have him be ready to play. Charles didn't understand that one at all. Darryl had a hard time.
Hey, Jeff, the 2 greatest statements I've heard from coaches, and Coach just told me this. He tells me every time he sees me, he says, I figured out, his motto was I treat all my players the same. And he said, what he said about me being really good in college, he says, my players the same.
No.
I can treat them all the same, but I can treat you different.
That's what I should have done. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And Greg Popovich said this to me one time. I said, Coach, when did Kawhi Leonard become a great player? And he says, when he realized that when I called a play for him, it was for the Spurs to score, not for him to score. And I said, what? He says, yeah, Charles, a lot of guys think just because you call their play, they have to shoot the ball. It's really, and when Sonny's, and listen, I've talked to Bill Cowher. We talked about it because we were talking about Chip Kelly one day when he cut all his players he didn't like.
Yeah.
He said, hey, somebody better tell Chip Kelly you don't get to coach just the players you like. There's players who are assholes that you just have to deal with. Because remember, he got rid of Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, and I was doing the CBS. I made an appearance once a year on CBS, and Coach Cowher, who I love, pulled me aside. He says, hey, you need to get to your boy in Philly and tell him, hey, you don't have to like every player. We don't treat all the players the same. You know, you remember the famous story about Jimmy Johnson when the player fell asleep and Jimmy Johnson cut him? And the reporter says, well, what if it had been Troy or Emmett? He says, I'd have woke them up. and that's the
truth. You only average, how many shots a game did you average in your career at Auburn? Not that many. You just went and got the ball. Did you care? Did you care about that and want more plays run for you, or were you okay with just going getting it?
No, I was okay with just like that's how I made my game. I averaged 20 rebounds a game in high school. Listen, when I found out, because number one, college is not like the pros where they give you stats all the time. I remember, I think I might have been halfway through the season, and they're like, you know, you lead the SEC in rebound. I'm like, what? And that just stoked my fire. I mean, listen, because in high school, I was like the fourth option. So I got all my baskets on rebounds. And then when I got to Auburn, I found out I was leading the SEC in rebound. I didn't care. I mean, I think the most points I averaged in college was like 14.
Yeah.
No, you averaged 17.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Was that my junior year?
Your last year, 17. I thought it was overall 17.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Think about this. We ran plays for our players back then, Jeff. And we give the best players 2 plays, say, and the other players 1. Well, Charles was one of the players that had 2 plays. But we could go to the other guy more because Charles could rebound his misses. And the other guy could not rebound Charles's misses.
Good point.
Charles was an incredible rebounder. He could go from one side of the goal and get the rebound on the other side. You don't see many people that can rebound like that anymore.
All right, I got the stats in front of you. Ready?
What is it?
Go. Sonny, you're off. 15.1. Junior year,
that was
15.1.
Okay. I thought he was 17.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, you know, Jeff, one of my greatest accomplishments it was my 3rd year at Auburn. So, like in high school, my junior and senior year, we lost less than 5 games my junior and senior year. And every time we lost, we cried. So I go down to Auburn, and I remember it vividly because I tell this story all the time when people ask me about accomplishments in my life. So, you know, you start off with the cupcake schedule, and then we finally lose a game, and I'm crying. And it might have been one of my teammates, Alvin Mumford, or somebody, I can't remember who, might have been Eric Stringer. Says, dude, what's up? You all right? And I said, we lost. And they're like, and you're crying? And I said, yeah. When we lost, every time we lost in high school, it was traumatic. I mean, like I said, I think we lost 5 games my junior and senior year. And they were all big games. And obviously we were devastated. And I remember the guy said, dude, we never win around here. And I said, what? He said, dude, we have never been 500 here. And I remember going back to the dorm, and I was steamed. And the next day I tell the guys, this shit's going to stop right now. We're going to start winning. I said, I'm telling y'all right now, we're going to start winning. And we changed. We started working harder. We started practicing better. And that year, my first year, we finished, I think, 500. My next year, we finished about 4 or 5 games over 500. Now, we thought we had a chance of making the NIT, and we barely missed it. In my third year, we made it to the tournament. And I tell people, out of all the things I've done in my life, getting number one, getting my high school team to the state tournament, they had never been. My high school they got upset in the playoffs every year. Really? And I got us to the state tournament 2 years in a row. And then getting Auburn to the NCAA tournament, I tell people that's probably one of the most powerful things that I talk about in my life.
Sonny, it was big, and we went to the finals of the SEC tournament that year and lost it on a final shot.
What was the most trouble Charles ever got into at Auburn? Can we tell that story? Whatever it is it an off the record?
No. Hey Jeff. So Sonny used to get mad at me for breaking the rim down. Remember back in those days, rim was
So you do it all the time?
Oh, yes. Every time I dunk, I'd pull it down. This goes on for about an hour. I probably do it 6 times. And finally, the 7th time, Sonny grabs the ball and hit me right in the chest and kicks me out of practice. And
I don't remember that one, did I?
Yes. I have told you not to break that damn rim down. Because in the old days, Jeff, you remember the rim just come down, and it stayed down till you clicked it back up.
Yeah.
Sonny, what's your kind of favorite memory of coaching Charles?
I thought it was when we finally made it to the finals of the SEC tournament, and we were going to win it, and Kenny Walker makes the final shot. But Charles carried us all through that. I think the other biggest memory of Charles is in a game that we lost. We were playing Richmond in the NCAA tournament, and they're killing us in the first half early. They're a good team. Johnny Newman played in the NBA for a number of years. Charles comes to me at the halftime. He said, "Coach, give me the ball." And we gave him the ball, and we went from being like 20 points down, 19 points down, whatever it might be, to losing on the last second shot, didn't we, Charles? You help me out here. But Charles scored 24, 25 points in the second half. I don't know the exact number, but he put us on his back and carried us right. I thought that I learned something there, and I saw how good he really was many times before that. But I'd never seen anybody take a game over totally. And you can't take a game over unless your teammates join in and help. They got to help. So they came down the floor, and they threw the ball to him every time. And he scored every time. And we lost that game. We lost the game like on a 1-point deal. Everybody said, "How could you lose to Richmond?" Well, except for 2 players, their players are better than the ones we had. But
people look at it now, right? They're going to look at it different now, obviously.
They were really good, and I thought, and that game right there showed me that Charles can win any game if he's given the opportunity and handled correctly. Charles used to say to me, coming out of the dressing room, I think about this a lot. He used to say to me, I'd cuss him, get all over him. He said, "Coach, why don't you ever tell us we're going to win?" You know, and I thought about that for a minute, too. For years, I thought about that. Do you remember saying that, Charles?
I remember because, you know, there was another famous coach that said the same thing all the time. Like, well, if we don't do this, they can beat us. Even if the team is like, "No, they can't beat us, coach." No, they can't beat us. Just say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and work on this and this and this. We're going to kick their ass and keep it moving." I think it might have been Lou Holtz. He used to always, no matter who they played, he's like, "Well, this team can beat us."
Oh,
like, no, they can't.
Every game, Holtz, every game.
Yeah.
It was, you know, sisters of the poor. It didn't matter who he was playing. You know, he would always say that.
I worked with Lou Holtz for a year. I know.
Yeah.
He was the head football coach at William and Mary when I got my start. I listened to everything he ever said. His legs were skinnier than mine. I never saw that before. It's the first time I've ever seen anybody's legs skinnier than mine.
What do you guys think of the new the name, image, likeness, and kind of what's going on there? I know, Chuck, I'm sure you've talked about this in several interviews. Do you think kids? The NCAA has said that they're gonna enable name, image, likeness, but they're gonna have guardrails. They're gonna have guardrails.
There's no guard. Hey, first of all, hey Jeff, there's no guardrails.
No,
you can't guardrail it.
Right.
I hate it for the simple fact is there's only a couple players on every team that can sell their likeness.
Right.
I think there's going to be a great resentment because the other players work just as hard as the big name player. I always use the football analogy. They only going to buy the quarterback's jersey, the running back's jersey, and maybe a wide receiver. So
True.
They're going to sell their jerseys. So those guys going to make great money. They probably going to get a car deal.
Yeah.
But if I'm a big, fat offensive lineman and I'm actually doing all the work for the running back and the quarterback and I'm not getting a dime, you don't think I'm going to be pissed? I don't. That really bothers me. And like I say, what's going to happen now is these small schools, if I'm a good player, I'm going to say, wait, I'm going to make a lot more money if I go to Kansas instead of going to Missouri State. I mean, that Missouri State, no disrespect, they're not going to be on TV. So if I'm only going to get to sell my likeness for 6 months, I'm only going to go to the schools that's going to be on television. I think it's going to really hurt competitive balance, number one. But secondly, it's going to be a great resentment among the players
within teams.
Let's take Auburn this year. Let's just hypothetically.
Okay.
Like the best player on the team was not Chuma. That was last year.
Yeah.
What's the young kid? Isaac Okoro. People are going to buy Isaac's jersey.
Sure.
But they're not going to buy anybody else on the team jersey.
No.
So Isaac going to make some money. Isaac probably going to get a car deal. Number one, bless him. But I think that's going to be a great resentment among his teammates. Like, damn, this dude, he got a nice car.
Yeah, Javon McCormick's not going to get anything, right? Like, he might get a few $100 to go to a party but he's not going to get real money.
He's not going to get real money. So I think, but this is all the NCAA's fault. That goes back to our conversation earlier. Listen, Mark Emmert's got to grow up and realize, like, yo, a guy's getting an extra pair of shoes. Nothing wrong with that. Right. If this guy's having dinner with somebody or he played in some summer league, don't suspend him for 10 games. Right. Like, we need to start using way more common sense. But to get back to your point, Jeff, I hate the likeness thing.
Interesting.
I do too. I feel the same way about that. I really do. I don't think that they've done anything to keep the level of what a kid receives down through the lesser player. You know, you can have a lesser player that's giving to the other player to make him better. Yeah. And he gets nothing. I'm the same way he is about that.
The other thing I worry about is, all right, we'll take you for example, Charles. You could let's say you set up an LLC. All right, let's say you can outbid or anybody. I'll give you a better one. Let's give you an even better one. Damon Stoudemire is the head coach of Pacific right now. I don't know how much money he's got in the bank, but my guess is he's got a lot of money in the bank. If he wants to legally, and he's got a buddy of his who owns a car dealership down the street, why can't he tell that guy, give him some money? Now that's, I guess, illegal, but whatever. What I'm saying is basically you can pay these kids whatever you want. Bruce Pearl could do it through you. You could set up an LLC and you could go out, Charles Barkley Incorporated, and go buy the best players in America and outbid everybody if you wanted and bring Auburn a national title and go get the best players.
Yeah, see, I think your point is 100% correct. We're going to have the haves. First of all, we already have the haves and the have-nots. After this pandemic, which shouldn't even come into play. After this pandemic, we really gonna have the haves and have-nots. And like I say, if I'm an 18-year-old kid with a mom and dad, and they says, well, you got to go to college for 6 months, but you get your likeness. Well, wait, I got to go to a big school. Right. I'm gonna make more money at a big school. I'm gonna get more national exposure, and like that's just common sense. Yeah. And like I say, I think it's going to hurt competitive balance. And I feel bad, man, because, see, what really bothers me, Jeff, is most of these kids are black. And we telling these black kids, oh, a free education doesn't matter. A free education really does matter. It's a really big deal. Only a couple of these guys going to be able to sell their likeness and their image. And I always try to look at the big picture. Man, all these young black kids, man, who get a free education, number one, we got to make sure they take advantage of it. But this notion that, like, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater just to appease 3 guys. Think about this. There's only 3 high school players that went to the G League.
Right.
3. But all of a sudden, like, well, we got to scrap the whole college system. I'm like, no, we don't. Right. We got 3 guys that's going to go to the G League. We still got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other players going to do it the other way. But because the NCAA overreacts to everything and they're not progressive, it drives me crazy.
I'm afraid we're going to have more next year, though, Charles. I am afraid that if Jalen Green goes number 1 in the draft, and Adam Silver has deep pockets and says, why not? I'm going to pay all these kids $250. Can he get 25 of the top 100 kids next year? I don't know. I am a little bit – those who say – and I agree. I've said it. Listen, college basketball was fine without LeBron. Okay, it was fine. It survived. We did fine. But if you start losing more and more, the talent pool was not great this year. And if you lose – you're going to lose 10 more because eventually the rule's probably going to go into place where kids can go out of high school again. So you're going to lose between 5 and 10 every year. That's okay. But if you start losing 25, and that's where I don't get why Adam Silver is doing this, does he really think it's a better way than college to be prepared for the
No. I think that the agents are in his ear because he has no obligation to college basketball.
Right.
But he has an obligation to the agents to a certain degree. And I think that's the problem. The agents are running the league now.
But why would the owners don't want kids coming out of high school? The players don't want kids coming out of high school. The veteran players who want to stay in for another year. So who the hell wants this rule is my question.
Just giving in to the agents. That's just my personal opinion. Hey, listen, first of all, I hate it. I wish, my personal opinion, I would like guys to stay in college for 2 years.
Me too.
I think that would help college, that would help the pros. Because what you just said is interesting and true. These guys ain't going to help the NBA next year. Listen, people look at LeBron. First of all, if you go back to even Kobe Bryant, as great as he was, he struggled early in his career. And he's on the Mount Rushmore. Same thing with Kevin Garnett, who's a great player. He struggled. LeBron's the only player in my 30-some years in the NBA who was ready for the NBA when he came in. The rest of these kids are not even close to being ready. It hurts our product in the NBA, and clearly it's hurting college. But like I say, the NCAA's got to take some blame for it too, Jeff, because, listen, suspending this Wiseman kid because Penny gave him $5,000 way before he was the coach in Memphis, I might add, too. Yep. I mean, give me a break.
And listen, I get it. It's against the rules. But ultimately, listen, like you said, they've got to figure out what are they willing to do here. You know, if a kid needs money to pay for his family, needs money to pay for their electricity bill, like that should be legal. Like those are the things I don't understand, right? I mean, AAU coaches, they help these kids when they don't have money. Why is that wrong? Why is that not okay?
Well, because the rules are archaic. And Mark Emmert, listen, nobody uses the flip phone anymore for a reason. Nobody uses the typewriter anymore for a reason. everything has to change. And the NCAA, first of all, I never talk bad about them because I understand, man. I want these young black kids to get that free education. What's one thing that bothers me, I got all the guys on TV who are friends of mine who probably got screwed a little bit by the system.
Sure.
Like, yeah, they would have sold merchandise. They would have had a great likeness. But I'm saying, like, guys, what about the rest of the guys? I know that, yeah, you had to go to college and you didn't make any money. But now first of all of them went on to the NBA, myself included. And, I'm like, yo, man, can you just look at the big picture? More kids are not going to go to the NBA than going to go to the NBA. Why aren't we worried about them? We're going to change the whole system for a couple of guys. That's what drives me crazy.
And why give up on them? We got this G League thing. Why give up on the thought of trying to show them that college is better? I get it. Some kids don't want to go to school. It sounds like you didn't want to. I didn't want to go to school at Arizona. I went to about 50% of my classes. You didn't want to go to your classes at Auburn, but you went, right? People made you understand that at the end of the day, it was the best for you down the road in your life to have a college degree.
But also just the college. I like the college experience.
That too.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
I actually talked to probably 20 people today, not just players, 20 people I went to class with or who developed a friendship when I was at Auburn, going to gymnastics, going to swimming events, going to football games, obviously, like stuff like that. Like, you're going to drop a 17, 18-year-old kid and says, you're going to play in the G League in L.A. Okay, you're going to go practice in the morning. What the hell is this 17, 18-year-old kid going to do for the rest of the day?
Right.
Nothing. Except probably get in trouble. Like I say, he got to move his family to L.A. to eat up the rest of that $200,000. Crazy, man.
What are you guys up to now, Sonny? Have you been pretty much locked in and not able to do anything? What have you been up to?
Pretty much locked in. We and I think people have done that pretty much in Auburn, but there's not much getting out for 83 years old.
Hey, there's not much getting out for 48 years old either here in Boston. So, Charles, I want to know, are you wearing pants right now or no?
I'm wearing pants. Jeff, I use this as a chance to, you can't do anything. So I made a couple rules. I can only drink on Friday and Saturday. I work out twice a day.
Do you? Really?
And I play golf 3 days a week. I've tried to use this in a positive way.
Yep.
And listen, I'm not going to complain, man, because you got so many people out here who have died,
100%.
who are sick.
Yep.
So I'm not going to complain at all. My only problem is, man, I want the NBA to make a decision one way or the other. That's it.
Are you in shape now? Are you like, how much have you lost?
I'm in 57-year-old shape.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right?
94-year-old shape. But
Is
I'm
the
only
diet
83.
Has the diet been hard to I mean, you're working out twice a day. Are you eating right too?
No, the diet's been easy. The diet's been easy.
My wife's been cooking at 37, so I've been on a diet ever since. You didn't hear me.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, it's not hard. We, Jan and I are pretty much retired. We eat out more than anything else, so now we just go pick it up.
Yeah,
they're handing it out to go by. So nothing's changed for us. I'm still staying active. I'm going to do the games on the radio for Auburn. I enjoy that. The reason I do, everybody asks me, I do it because I get a front row seat. If I weren't doing the games on the radio, I'd have to sit way up. And when older you get, the closer to the court you want to be.
Bruce will put you. No, Bruce will put you. Even if you stop doing the radio, he'll put you down low. He's smarter than that. Come on.
No, I'd have to get Gus Bells on to do it. I don't think Coach Pearl could pull that off. That's the way you remember that, Charles. Charles, you say, which was not true. he used to say that they'd feed the football players steak, and when we got over there, they'd have it changed by hamburgers for the basketball team. But it's no longer like that, I don't believe. Do you?
It's not like that anymore, thank goodness.
All right, last thing before I let you go, Charles. Watching The Last Dance. Did you watch them both last night or no?
I did not.
You didn't watch
I'm last dance out, brother.
Are you? You really are?
Yeah, man. I mean, to talk about it every single – no, I'm saying I just have gotten – I watched the first 3 episodes, 6 episodes, but
that was it.
I'm just tired of it mentally.
You know what I enjoy? The best part for me is actually watching Michael show emotion. They showed him actually like in tears after winning one of the titles when he came back from baseball, that first one. Yeah. And then they showed Gary Payton talking some trash, and they showed it to Michael. You've seen it in a couple of the episodes where they show him on the iPad what Gary Payton was saying, and he just kind of laughed at him. He's like, yeah, the glove.
Imagine that.
I know. It's just, like for me, again, I grew up, like I said, I'm 48, so I grew up in the front of you and Michael and all that. So I enjoy it because, frankly, there's nothing else on, number one. I've watched all the damn shows I can watch. I can't watch Ozark again. Or something.
Hey, have you did Billions?
You know what? We started Billions, and I think it was more my wife. Might have been me. I got to give it another shot.
I'm loving Billions.
Are you? All right. We'll go Billions again. How about this one? I've never watched The Wire, the whole Wire.
Me either.
You haven't either?
Nope.
You gotta watch westerns, fellas.
Westerns. Like Clint Eastwood?